Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're finally going to be able to check out the newly released DNA Design DK-18 SS56 Leader Shockwave upgrade set. Now for those of you looking to add this pack to your collection, it is currently available and in stock right now over at Showzy Store, and for that of course I shall pack a link down in the description box below. This has been a set which has been a long time coming. I believe it was announced well over a year ago, and Studio Series Shockwave actually turns 2 years old this year, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. As to be completely honest, I'm just as impressed with this guy as I was when I originally picked him up. He is by far one of the best Studio Series figures that I own in my entire collection, and just in general he's a fantastic looking piece. Now like many of you, if there were really one critique that I had with this guy overall, it would be in regards to some of the materials that Hasbro decided to cast certain elements out of. Now most noticeably would be the arm blade. It's completely rubberized, as so is the hand, and of course the actual nozzle here to the blaster. Now these are all areas which will no doubt over time in fact become dried out and will potentially crumble and crack, leaving for a very ugly figure, and that's where DNA Design have come in and essentially fixed these issues. They've given us fully plastic arms now, as well as a complete plastic blade, but this set retails for roughly $35 to $40 depending on where you do decide to pick it up, and I don't think that we are in fact actually getting that much here. I actually would have loved if they could have in fact found a way to pack in a fully plastic hose, as this too will no doubt break over time. It would have been so simple to have in fact actually had all of these individual segments held together via ball joints, and once again they could have made this completely plastic, but as it stands we are left with just the hose that came with this SS figure, so hopefully we may in fact actually get a new hose in the near future. But just to show some of the faults that this figure did in fact have, you can see here that the entire hand was just completely rubbery. Now that didn't actually compromise the sculpt work, it looks absolutely fantastic, but once again it will no doubt crack over time, especially where this pin does in fact actually shoot through the rubbery section. This is no doubt in fact actually going to split, and in regards to the blade, not only was it an incredibly loose fit, but it was completely hollow, and you can see here completely rubberized. Honestly, this is really poor in my opinion, especially considering that this came packaged with a leader figure. And then as we just flip here over to the actual arm cannon, you can once again see that this entire barrel section too was made out of that pliable PVC material, which once again would no doubt dry and crack over time. So just to show you some of the new components that we actually get, here we have a complete plastic blade. You can see in regards to sculpt work, it's incredibly faithful to the actual blade that we get packaged with the original SS figure. If anything, it actually looks slightly better this time being cast out of that plastic, and I do think the dry brushing is really awesome. Now instead of using a metallic silver, they have gone with this almost green wash. I actually think it looks really cool. You can see there's some very nice looking sculpt work, and much like we actually saw in the Dark of the Moon video game, this is indeed extendable and retractable, which is super cool. Of course I'll demonstrate this more when we actually implement it onto the figure. We do now get a complete brand new arm for this guy, so you can see fully articulated wrist going on, something which was lacking on the actual Studio Series version, and the fingers now are too also fully articulated, so the thumb can hinge back and forth, and all of these fingers here can also move independently, which is awesome, although there is an area of which has been slightly compromised, but once again we'll touch base more when we actually implement it onto the figure. You can see in regards to sculpt work, looks just as good as the actual original version. And then finally we take a look here at Shockwave's fusion cannon. Now this looks absolutely fantastic. This is indeed a complete brand new sculpt. You can see the thumb has now been completely cast out of plastic, but still is fully articulated, and this entire section does in fact actually have a spring-loaded mechanism going on for it, but once again we'll touch base more with that when we actually install it. And you can just see the purple metallic wash that they've applied over the top really does look awesome. So without further ado, let's get down to business. Now in order to actually prep for this review, I did already pre-install the kit, so that's why the hose has in fact become detached. I didn't want to reinstall it as it does actually require quite a bit of force to pull this out, and I just didn't want to apply any more pressure to this as I was afraid I was going to break it. But step one is to essentially just remove the hose from the original fusion cannon. We can then flip here to the back and just wriggle this bicep joint off of this mushroom peg. Very simplistic to do, and we can just set this to the side or essentially just throw it in the trash, as there really is no need for this at all. We can then bring in the new Shockwave arm and just groove that in there over the top until it does click into place, and then you've got Shockwave with his brand new DNA Design upgrade kit fusion cannon arm, once again looking really awesome. We can then take the actual hose, reinstall this, which will no doubt be a lot easier said than done, as this is very difficult to in fact actually get wedged in there. I may in fact actually do this off camera. And then as we just spin our attention here to this side, once again it's more of the same, so you are in fact just going to want to wriggle this arm off of that mushroom peg. We can then bring in the new version, snap this here over the top, and it's an incredibly snug fit as well, which is great. So you just want to click that into place. We can then bring in the new arm blade, depending on how you actually wish to have this guy displayed. You can peg it on the outer section or on the underarm. As I'm going for movie accuracy, I'm going to peg it on the underside, and there you've got the DNA Design upgrade kit fully installed. Now I'll very quickly go away and in fact actually try my best to attach the hose to the Fusion Canon, and then of course I'll proceed with the review. And so here we have Shockwave fully reactivated and actually looking once again absolutely fantastic. Now upon first glance you probably won't be able to notice that many differences when in comparison to the stock figure, but in regards to articulation as well as just functionality, it is indeed a lot better. So as we just turn our attention here to this arm, not only does the actual blade stay in so much better, but it's now completely plastic, meaning that it's not going to flex, it's not going to in fact actually bend out of shape, and it does look super awesome. So once again you can in fact actually extend this blade, something which I only believe we actually see in the DOTM video game. So it's really awesome to see DNA Design in fact actually do extensive research into this, and of course you can in fact actually retract that. So it's really up to your own personal preference how you wish to have this displayed on this figure. We do in fact once again get that rotation here at the bicep, but an area which is sadly slightly compromised is the range of motion that we get here out of the elbow. So you can see that sadly this cannot bend past 90 due to this piece of plastic. Now you may in fact actually be able to slightly sand this down, but considering that it's very close to the actual mushroom peg, you may in fact actually compromise the stability of this. So that is unfortunate. You can see as I just bring in the original version, you was in fact actually able to get a solid 90-degree range of motion out of that, whereas here with this version I'd say that it can bend roughly to 85 degrees, which is by no stretch of the imagination terrible, but not as good as the predecessor. But with the articulation that we lose, it more than makes up for it in regards to the hand. So we now get a hinge joint back and forth, mainly due to transformation, as well as now a swivel joint, which is awesome. And as mentioned beforehand, all of these fingers are indeed individually articulated, which is fantastic. And then we flip our attention here to this arm. The articulation is exactly the same as the original stock version, so full rotation there, as well as slightly past 90 at the elbow. And we of course also can manipulate the thumb, although if you in fact actually lift this section up, we have in fact actually got a spring-loaded mechanism, much like the DOTM game, to actually give you this almost cocking mechanism. So you can see here you can retract and extend the cannon, and the actual cannon itself does swivel into place, which is super awesome. And you can indeed actually lock this into place. So if you push it here and to the side, you can see it will peg into place there, and there you've got Shockwave's cannon powered down, not ready for battle. But of course if you see it's Optimus Prime, you can then just take this here, flick this section forwards, which can be easier said than done every so often, and you can see how that will shoot forwards, and Shockwave there is ready to take on the Autobot. And the sculpt work looks really cool here for the cannon, of course completely cast out solid plastic this time, and we've got some nice silver going on there for the actual tip. But once again, it would have been awesome if we could have in fact got a fully plastic hose with those individual segments in fact actually created out of ball joints. I just think that would have been awesome, and maybe if they could have found a way to perhaps actually increase the stability here of the ankle spurs, as this was also an area which wasn't the best on the figure. So this set definitely does in some regards leave a lot to be desired, but then it does in fact actually fix a lot of issues that this original version did have. So overall, for those of you who really love Studio Series Shockwave and you want the best out of this figure, then I would definitely recommend this set. It certainly does amplify not only the overall look of this guy, but the functionality, the longevity, and the playability. The arm blade is so much better. The fully articulated wrist on this arm too is awesome, as well as those individually articulated fingers. And I also think now that we've got this cocking mechanism going on, as well as a fully plastic nozzle, is also a lot better. But then as saying that, you are paying nearly $35 to $40 for this, and I do not think that you get as much bang for your buck as we've seen from some of the other previous DNA Design kits. So maybe if they could have included an actual plastic hose or some form of additional upgrade kit here to the ankles, then maybe that would worth justify the price point. But as it stands, if you're actually happy with the Studio Series Shockwave, which to be fair is pretty decent as it is, then I think that maybe this kit is an easy pass. But with all that being said, if you do decide to add this to your collection, it is currently available and in stock right now over at Showz's store, and for that of course I shall throw a link down in the description box below. I would really love to know down in the comment section below on what you guys think of this particular kit. Do you guys believe that it does in fact actually amplify the look as well as the playability of this guy? And if not, are the PVC pieces that come stock on this guy an actual issue for you, or is it something that you're easily able to get over? I would love to know down in the comment section below, and as always I thank you guys all so much for watching. Until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.